Molweni manene na manenikazi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dames en heren. I want to start off firstly by saying thank you to the program director, Matie Pretorius, who afforded me this opportunity to share my experience with each and every one of you. I'm humbled and truly blessed this evening to share with you a journey that is truly unique and extraordinary as mine that led me to this institution. Prospective Maties, I too was sitting where you are sitting now, and I too felt what you are feeling now. As just 3 years ago, I too was in that exact space, and that exact space of mind of discomfort and having to make all these big decisions, so soon and so often as matric exams lie ahead, university choices too, and the fear of the unknown and what is yet to come. I sat in these very same seats in 2010, listening to Prof. Botman talking about Maties and the origin of the word being related to tamatis. So I can honestly say this evening, you are not alone. Ladies and gentlemen, I now want to share with you a bit of my background, a bit of who I am and my journey and how I got to Stellenbosch University. So you might be thinking, wow, he's been to Germany twice, and you all have these preconceived ideas of each and every student, but take a look around. Just do me a favor, prospective students, and turn to your side and look to the student sitting next to you and to the student on the other side of you. Have a look at them, because those are the future leaders you will be walking with one day as you'll be walking down Victoria Street on this beautiful campus. So my walk down Victoria Street was amazing. And before I got there, my journey I would like to share with you. To be frank, this is who I am. I was born out of wedlock into a single-parent household. I was, or still is, the youngest of 5 siblings, and this could just hold in disaster for growing up. My mother passed away when I was 12 years old, and only in grade 9 then found out that all my siblings were actually not paternally related to me. I had suffered from Bell's palsy, or idiopathic facial paralysis, which is similar to a stroke and is caused by severe stress. Upon hearing this news and the burden of my circumstances. Yet at the age of 10, we could not afford the costs and living and... wait, my apologies. Oh, excuse me. Guys, I'm very nervous as I'm standing here, so bear with me. Until today, I still do not know who my father is, although whoever he is, I'm really grateful for the genes I inherited. I grew up in a small suburban area called Richwood in the northern suburbs of Cape Town, and at the time it was a sadly homogeneous society and a homogeneous community so it was called a so-called white area, with my family being the only non-whites living there. My mother had decided after 1994 that she would want her children to grow up in a place of opportunity, opportunities that she never had, as there were 12 children living in a 2-bedroom home in Bonteheuwel, and my siblings had spent their childhood living in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. So at the age of 10, we could not afford the cost of a home in Richwood, and the cost of living and paying the bond, and thus we lost our home. My mom then decided to rent a home in Boedesig, which was close to my school. And before we could wipe our eyes, the money had all dried up, and we had reached a climax and had lost everything. We had slept on construction sites, cold and on the uncovered cement floors, community centers, places of worship, and my mom occasionally slept in the car alongside the beach, whilst we would be at her friend's house. I woke one morning, while still living in the community center, with my mother who had suffered a severe stroke through the night, as she then was unable to sign my homework diary, as her body was paralyzed. I was head learner at the time in my primary school, and I was embarrassed, and it was pretty selfish of me not to share this with my teachers. From then on, I had to grow up ever so rapidly, a time in which I had started my adulthood ever so suddenly, trying to become independent and living myself into my schoolwork and my extramurals, as mom was no longer there. a time in which I realized that only I could change my circumstances. My maternal aunt had taken us in for a limited time at first, and my brothers and sisters quickly dissolved. I was the last man standing. I'd been physically and emotionally drained, which made me decide to run away, and I ended up at my brother's granny flat in Mitchell's Plain, which he and his wife and a daughter shared. They could then no longer afford the addition to the family, as I needed to travel by bus and taxi very early in the mornings from town centre to Tygerberg to actually still be late for school, which was situated in Parow. They asked me to move to my middle brother, who was irresponsible, unstable, and at the time unemployed. And he rented a room in Reiterwacht, which was substantially closer to my school, and he hardly came home, and thus I had to find work, just to have something to eat and for public transportation to and from school. And during this time in high school, I still fulfilled my duties on the Student Council and the Representative Council of Learners. I organized local community service events for the Land Service Organization, which I led. I wrote for the school magazine and had been re-elected for the Student Council and became head boy of my school. And on a sunny day in October of 2009, being in grade 11, after completing my duties at a school sports day, a close friend's family stopped by and asked me where I was going, and I lied and I said I was going home, whatever that meant. And they invited me for coffee, and they were very inquisitive. And I never ever told anyone my story, never uttered a word of where I was living, what I was going through. And they insisted on dropping me off that day. And I felt that my master plan of deceiving everyone had crashed and burned, as I wasn't able to get myself out of this situation. And appalled with where I was living, they kindly asked me to live with them for stability in my matric year. And 1 year became 2, 2 became 3, and I'm currently still residing with them. That's my story of adoption. Not legally, of course, and they had taken me in and are still currently supporting me. My connections with my biological siblings is indeed a broken one, and recently my sister has been diagnosed with schizophrenia as she served a time in mental institution. She's on a disability grant for the rest of her life. My two brothers left their families and is working in Indonesia, and I'm unaware about their whereabouts there. And my eldest sister heads a household as a single parent to her 2 children, as she also takes care of my sister and works as a salesperson at a furniture store in Grassy Park. None of my siblings finished school. The highest was grade 10, and it was a path that I could have very easily chosen. I've risen above these circumstances, and I've learned to stay humble, to keep my feet grounded, and never to forget where I come from and where I'm going. I've learned that one should create opportunities out of difficulties and use it to an advantage. I'm a highly motivated student who wants to excel not only academically, but also with involvement in community service and leadership. I wish to improve and inspire the lives of others and that of myself, and to encourage invaluable educational capital. As ladies and gentlemen, prospective Maties, education is the only ticket out. Ek het net aansoek gedoen vir Stellenbosch Universiteit met rede. Rede is 'n grond op dieper insig van kampuslewe, die akkommodasie, die innoverende leeromgewing, alles wat julle vanaand hier gehoor het. Die diversiteit van die studentekorps en die inkoop van die idee van die universiteit se algehele visie van hoop. Wie dit vir my moontlik gemaak het en hoekom ek vanaand hier met julle kan gesels, gaan alles te dank aan mevrou Beverly van Nella wat my na die universiteit toe gebring het. So I would like to give her a hand of applause. Baie dankie Beverly. Beers en al, baie dankie weer eens hiervoor. My eerste jaar by hierdie wêreldklas universiteit was nie heeltemal maklik nie. Gaan nie vir jou jok nie. Die koshuislewe, akademiese integrasie en die algehele studentelewe was vreemd. Maar net soos enige vreemde ervaring of verskywing van omgewing, was dit als die moeite werd. Die geleenthede wat hierdie universiteit aan studente leen, gaan my verstand te bowe. Dit is regtig so ongelooflik dat ek al hierdie jaar selfs 2 maal, soos julle al gehoor het, oor see was. En dit was omdat dit deel gevorm het van my kursus en omdat die universiteit dit gesien het as deel van sy missie vir studente sukses. Die deure van geleenthede staan waawyd op, of sal ek eerder sê die skuifdeure van geleenthede staan waawyd oop. And so many great leaders, people of note, and most importantly, people of humanity, have studied at this institution. Many of my peers asked me, Yaseen, why did you apply to this university? I simply answer by saying, why not? I strongly believe that you should step out of your comfort zone, and by doing so, it's the only way that you can grow. Constantly re-evaluate, not stagnate. It is your choice. It's either to be comfortable or to grow, and you cannot have both. I live by the quote of Sir Winston Churchill, which reads, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." And this quote becomes a reality at a place such as Stellenbosch University. You can choose to make it your reality. Ladies and gentlemen, prospective Maties, to me, every Matie student is an inspired student. An inspired student who is highly motivated to make a change in his or her life, the student who wishes to compete for opportunity, and the student that sacrifices him or herself to reach collective goals. The inspired student is one who respects and upholds the law, the one who inspires others to be inspired, and the one who believes in hope. The inspired student is one who, even though he or her had a rough deal in his or her life, will work 3 times as hard to make it better for the next generation. The inspired student gets his or her hands dirty, works from the bottom up, and strongly believes in change. The inspired student supports democratic ideals and values it as he or she sees the value to his or her life. The inspired student adds value to society, adds hope, adds inspiration, and the inspired student, most importantly, is actively involved in critical discourse to promote ideals which he or she believes in, to foster a culture of giving back. Maar ek kan wel nou al sê, ek is innig dankbaar vir die onderrig wat ek hier ontvang. Dat ek kan deel wees van 'n universiteit wat nie selfsugtige doelstellings het nie, maar dat Stellenbosch Universiteit 'n plek is van hoop, 'n plek is van inspirasie en 'n plek is van denkers, dromers, doeners. I hope to see you all here next year. I thank you.